Good morning, my name is Dan Sampson. I'm a biologist here at Oden State Fish Hatchery. This is one of 6 hatcheries that the state DNR, which is now DNR-E, operates and operates to be able to produce fish for citizens to catch. That's really the main purpose. The fish that are produced at the hatcheries end up going into public waters. They're there for the public to catch. Typically, the fish are put into spots that are either that have a lot of too much fishing pressure, maybe don't have enough early rearing environments. We produce all of the brown trout eggs and all the rainbow trout eggs for the entire state. We're the sole source for 3 different stocks of brown trout that we have here, and 1 stock of the domestic Eagle Lake rainbows. The process for that starts, of course, with the adult. It takes us about 3 to 4 years for the adult to grow to maturity. From there, we'll separate them from male and female, and we'll spawn them at a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning we'll use 1 female and 1 male only, and they'll go into a separate bucket. We mix the eggs. We take the eggs first, and we put the milk on top, milk from the male that has the sperm in it, and we put a little bit of saline solution into the bucket, which breaks apart the milk and makes the sperm cells swim very rapidly, and really helps in fertilization. They'll go through a rinse. They go through a erythromycin bath. They also get external disinfection. And those take care of diseases, so that we don't, if there's any diseases they don't have, that we don't bring those diseases into the hatchery. From there, they go into the eggs will go into an incubator. We use heath stack incubators. It takes about the first 4 weeks after they've been fertilized, they're very, very tender. Meaning that if we move them or jostle them or bump them, we can easily kill thousands and thousands of them without meaning to. So they're hands off at that point. We leave them in the incubation, and we don't touch them. We can't. These are Gilchrist brown trout eggs. You can see they're a lot lighter colored. They don't tend to be as red as the rainbow eggs. They grow pretty much a little bit slower than the rainbow eggs do. They need typically about another extra 12 days in incubation. So they'll be in here for about 4 weeks until they eye up, and then once that happens, we'll take them out and we'll shock them. We'll dump them from one container into another, basically, or shake the whole incubation tray, and that'll cause any of the dead eggs to turn white. And then we can use a machine to be able to tell the difference between a dead egg, a good egg, and a dead egg, and it'll pick out all the dead eggs for us. And once we have those separated, then we'll come up with a population estimate for what we have alive. And then we'll either reseed them into the incubations here, or we'll ship them off to some other hatcheries. At that point, once they're eyed, they can be out of the water for quite a few hours. As long as they're just got moist, they're moist and cool, they'll survive just fine. They can be out for a day or two. We can ship them through FedEx if we want them to, or even the Postal Service could deliver them in a box for us without a problem. And then after that eyed stage takes about 2 weeks until they hatch. Once they hatch, then it's a little bit of a different ballgame again, because we can't move them. We can't. They're more of a little bag filled jelly than anything. So at that point, we have to leave them alone for about another 4 weeks until they're ready to swim up, until they absorb their yolk sac and they're ready to swim up. And at that point, then they're ready to start eating. These are eyed Gilchrist eggs, Gilchrist brown trout eggs. You can see there's the dark spots are the eyes. You can see them pretty clearly through the cell wall. And these are about 3 days away from being sturdy, tough enough that we can pick them. All of these eggs are going to be picked on. Actually, it's going to be on Thursday, which is in 2 days, and then they're going to be shipped to Thompson Hatchery, State Fish Hatchery up in the UP. So we put about it's about 1.5 liters of eggs in each tray, and that depends. The population
can vary greatly. Typically, we have about anywhere between 14,000 eggs per liter to up to almost 30,000 eggs per liter. So we might have, at any one time, if we have really small eggs, we might have about 45,000 eggs in a tray. If they're larger eggs, though, we have closer to the neighborhood of 21,000 in a tray. Each tray is designed to allow water to flow from behind, from the tray above it. The flow-through system is a reuse system. What happens is the water falls back behind, and the top tray falls back behind, and then it upwells through this basket. The eggs are just kept in this basket, and it seals around the top of the mesh. So it continually upwells through the eggs, down around the channel, and goes back to the next one so it can go down through the stack. We have a total of 16 trays per stack. We only use 15 of them though because the first one has to be empty to keep water, to get it flowing properly, keep it so there's not a lot of air bubbles or dead spots and things in it. We typically have one egg take in one stack, in each stack. We have the ability in here to either chill the water, or if we make it colder, the eggs are going to grow slower, they're going to develop slower. If we increase the water temperature, the fish are going to grow faster. It's going to get them out of incubation quicker. There's pluses and minuses to both of it, and we do use both occasionally. These are brown trout fry, sack fry yet. These were taken on in early November. There's a few, you can see a few of them that didn't develop correctly, that are, have white sacks that are dying, but the vast majority of them are in pretty good shape. See, they got a little bit of yolk sac on yet on their bellies. And that's they're still getting all their nutrition through that yolk sac. So these fish have probably about another 2 weeks until they're going to be ready to come out of the incubator and go into the nursery tanks. When we put the fish in out of the trays, there's usually some dead fish. There's fish that haven't developed properly. Sometimes they have structural problems, like maybe their spinal cord twists around or things like that. And what happens then is for us to get those out easily is we have this floating tray here basically that has a couple of inches on both sides that the fish that are healthy will swim up and out and away from it, but the fish that aren't will be trapped by it. So we can easily remove any dead fish or anything that's dead out of an incubation that we don't want in the general population. So we weigh all the fish as they're coming in. We know how much weight enters the tank, and then we'll subtract out everything that was in that's remaining here after a few days. These were just put in here. Monday was the last, which would have been yesterday, would have been the last trays that went in here. So they still have a few fish. There's probably about 5,000 to 6,000 fish there that'll swim out yet in the next week or so. Here's a good example of why we keep the lights off too. You can see all the fish on the bottom. When we first came up, they were sitting there really docile. Underneath where there's a cover, they're not so disturbed. But down here, they're pretty agitated, and they're kind of they're looking for cover, and they'll find cover, but typically they'll end up being under each other in one big pile. And what will happen then is they'll cut the water off to the fresh water to the other fish if there's too many fish in the tank. So there's about 250,000 fish in this tank. They'll remain in here for about 6 weeks. They're in here to get a starter diet, and the flow is going from the head end. From here is moving down very slowly. We've got about 15 gallons per minute that's going through here right now. Once they become, after about 6 weeks, they'll be swimming up in the water column a lot more. They'll be a lot more active, and then we can move them over to our other nursery tanks. The other nursery tanks draw water off the bottom, and if we put them in there in the circular tanks right now, since they're on the bottom already, they would be sucked. It's very easy to have them get sucked against the bottom stream and suffocate and die. So that's why we'll start the browns off in these larger tanks. Rainbows, though, we can start them off right in the circular tanks. They swim up and away from it and eat as soon as they come in.